Hello, everyone. Welcome to this workshop session as we look at emerging tech. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Nellie DeLacy, who will be taking care of this. Dr. Nellie DeLacy is an associate professor at Miami-Dade College. She's developed the Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity, which embeds various hands-on experiences. She uses immersion sessions at the Cyber Range. She's the lead instructor for this program and is the advisor for the Cybersecurity Club and serves as a coach for the National Cyber League competition. So as you can tell, she's eminently qualified for the session we're going to go through. She's a co-PI on a grant whose goal is to provide opportunities for underrepresented minorities to enter the cybersecurity workforce. She conducted undergraduate research in cybersecurity during the summers and holds several industry certifications, among which are the CISSP, the CEH, the CCSP. She has a PhD in computer science from Florida Atlantic University. It is my pleasure to introduce to you all Dr. Nellie DeLacy.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. So welcome to the Cybersecurity Lab, for lack of a better name. So the first thing I'm going to do today, I'm going to share my screen. And what you'll see is that, so please let me know when you can see it. That's fine. Everybody can see my screen now. You should see the yes. Instructions. All right, perfect. Good. So yeah, so again, welcome everybody. I recognize a few names from Miami-Dade, and I'm very, very happy to see so many women interested in cybersecurity. And I think I'm proud too, because we can show in Miami-Dade at least that security is not for men only. It's for us too, and we are able to do that. As a matter of fact, we have a group of students, women students in cybersecurity, and they're doing great. So as a matter of fact, cybersecurity in Miami-Dade College is, taken over by the women. So that's good. So that's good. And again, I'm not the only one. It's, students, professors, and we do have support too from other professors and from the administration. So we're very, very happy about that. All right, so what are we going to do in this workshop today? Well, so I was asked to do a workshop about cybersecurity, but the question is, what is cybersecurity? Everybody's hearing about cybersecurity nowadays. We know that everybody knows now about all the impacts that cyber attacks, breaches have in our society, right? So financial, legal, societal, all of this is understood. But what is not well understood is what cybersecurity is. Why? Because it actually permeates in business processes, in financial processes, and of course in IT operations. Okay, so cybersecurity is everywhere. By the way, I'm sorry, but I put my bio there. I get this from the website site again. So when I was putting in place this lab, I was overwhelmed with the different type of things I could do with students, in terms of cybersecurity. So what I decided to go with, and hopefully you'll like it, is, so before I tell you what I'm going to talk about in general, the goals, right? Again, it's an exploratory workshop. So I know that some of you guys know a lot about cybersecurity already. You might have a degree in cybersecurity already, but it's for, a general audience, not for cybersecurity practitioners. Also, I wanted to stay at the level of operational security. Okay, so again, there are many interesting things that can be done at the managerial level. Think about things like risk management, or security programs, and etc. But maybe in a workshop that's not the most that's not the ideal thing to do. So instead, we're going to do hands-on. Okay, so what typical security technician would do, security analyst would do every day. All right, so that's what we're gonna do with these things. I'm using in this lab, I'm using the NICE framework. So if some of you guys are from the cybersecurity field, you might have heard about the NICE cybersecurity framework. It is an initiative from NSA and I forgot another government agency. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So and nowadays, I mean, it started a long time ago, but nowadays it's used. Yes, thank you. And great. And then of course, if nowadays really, it's even the industry is talking about it because it's done such a great job at categorizing the different work roles and different knowledges and skills that people should have. So I'm working a lot with those. And as a matter of fact, today we're going to use a platform that they have partly founded. But again, if you know about those categories, today we're going to work in two categories. We're going to work in the protect and defend categories and also in the investigate categories. Okay. And of course, there are many other categories because when you think about cybersecurity, it's not just those two. It's also overseeing cybersecurity. It's about threat intelligence. So there are many, many more things, many other work roles that you can have when it comes to cybersecurity. If there is a link here to the workforce framework for cybersecurity from this NICE framework. If you're not interested, please go there and take a look at those different categories. Oftentimes I have students coming to me and, they want to know what is a typical day of a cybersecurity worker. Well, there's no typical day. There are so many work roles that can be used, that can be, that are available to you. Okay, so again, take a look at this. It's very interesting. Good. So that's what the workshop is going to be. Again, pretty much hands-on in protect and defend roles and in investigative roles. Okay. What platform I'm going to use? Well, we're going to use also a platform that was partly founded by the NICE, NSF, and the NSA. And that's a platform I'm pretty new with, but I really love it. What do? They simulate a business environment. So they actually have two business environments that they do simulate, and then they give you some challenges. Okay, so they give you some challenges, and I know that some schools are using those in their classrooms. So of course, the goal of the challenge is not to teach you anything; it's to check if you have what it takes to do the missions. Okay, so that's what we're going to use today. So if you are ready, first thing we can start is click on this link here. So everybody see this page here? I sent, so if you look at the chat, the very first thing I posted today was this document. And in this document, you'll have a link to the NICE challenge portal. So you can either click here, or you can go to the document I sent to you in the chat. And I put it there again. Okay, so you can have access to it. And I think that I'm on page 2 already. Yeah, I'm on page 2. So you can click there and access the platform that way. Now, when you access the platform, you're going to need to enter your username and password. So what is going to be your username and password? Well, I sent you another document through the chat. Where is it? I'm going to put it in the chat again if you came a little late. Okay, so you should see a second link. Now, in the second link, what you'll see is this. So for every person who registered today, there is a login available. Can you see the list of logins?
Yes.
All right, good. So perfect. So you can go there, take a look at the login that is assigned to you. And that's going to be your login for today. The password is going to be the same for everybody. So the password for today is NSF in capital letters 2021. NSF 2021. All right. So let's see how many of you guys are already connected. So that's how it's going to look like, right? So let me keep that here. With the password. And once you log in to this platform, that is what you're going to see. Right, good. So Annabelle, Cindy, Natalie are logged in already. So I'm going to wait a little bit more. Again, those are the usernames here. The password is the same, NSF 2021. Right, good. So again, if you are lost, you have both documents in the chat, right? You have a link to both documents, the detailed instructions and the credentials. Okay. All right, good. All right, good. So let's continue. All right, so minimum requirements. So the great thing nowadays, and yesterday I was in a session, a great session about how to train trainers. And one thing that was common to everybody in the room was the way that technology has evolved and makes it easy to educate ourselves online, you know, and all the flexibility we can have from this. Well, this is good because the only thing you need today for accessing the platform is to have a recent browser, a recent web browser. So Chrome and Firefox are recommended. Okay, so you can use Chrome or Firefox and that would be it. They have alternative ways to access the virtual machines, but it's not recommended. So please, when you have a choice, if you have the choice, use HTML5, meaning again, you won't have to install anything extra. All right, good. So if you are connected, let's go for a platform tour. Okay, so like I said, you do have two platforms, two environments. Yeah, so you do have two environments. So under the player tab, you'll have access to those two workspaces there. Okay, so one of them is called Pretty Safe Electronics, and the other one is called Das Webs Inc. Okay, so the first one is more geared toward protect and defend, and the other one is more geared toward operate and maintain. So the first thing we do when we want to start a challenge is to deploy the challenge, because it's a bunch of virtual machines that they have to start for you. You know, again, it can take some time. So let's go ahead and start and deploy the very, very first challenge. The very first challenge we're going to work on today is in this environment here. It's in Workspace 2. So please click on Workspace 2. And then you'll see a bunch of challenges. Some of them are easy, some are less easy. Never impossible, right? But the work we're going to do today is called, the challenge we're going to work on today is called Dangerous Drives. So if you click in the search box here, Dangerous Drives, you'll see 3 search challenges. Okay, the first one, I wanted to start with something simple. We can start with the dangerous drive with no complexity. You'll see it's pretty easy. And we're going to click on deploy. Okay, so I'm deploying mine. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so now the thing is that once you deploy your challenge, it can take a few minutes. Okay, so it's going to take a few minutes for you to for all your machines to be ready. So in the meantime, you're gonna have a meeting, a business meetings with your colleagues, and you'll see here that you have somebody called Sergio Channel telling you what your challenge is gonna be today, right? It looks like they found a thumb drive on the second floor near the HR area. They don't know whose it is, and they don't care. And of course, here it says that I'm going to drop it off later because I'm sure you have more use for it than I do. Okay, and then you have another colleague here. I ran into Sergio is in the halls and he handed me a random flash drive with little explanation. Okay, he said he made a ticket for it. Anyways, I put it on your desktop to look at. And then in this game, you're called player one. Okay, so I do have a few questions, so let me wait a little bit. So the question is, yes, most people are logged in. The challenge to look for is called dangerous drives. So you can search for dangerous drive. You can find it, or you can just go through the different pages using the arrows at the bottom. So that's how it's spelled, dangerous drives. Oh, and by the way, maybe if you don't find it, that's because you're in the wrong workspace. So maybe what you want to do is to click on workspaces at the top of your window and make sure, oops, I did something wrong. So the name of the challenge is dangerous drives, but make sure that you are in the second workspace. Okay, if you look at my screen now, you have two workspaces. The first one is called Pretty Safe Electronics. The second is DasWeb Inc. Okay, so you want to go to the second one called DasWeb Inc. And that's where you'll find the dangerous drives. And again, there are 3 versions of it. And you want to start with the easy one. It just says dangerous drive, there's no complexity to it. Okay. And again, you want to start deploying your challenge first because it can take some time. Especially today, we have like 30 students, maybe 20 students deploying at the same time. So you have to give it some time. Now, in the meantime, again, I was reading the meeting, what the mission is going to be, and it looks like again you found somebody from your company found a thumb drive. And luckily for us, because again, in real life, some people are curious, right? So a typical social engineering attack is that hackers plant, thumb drives, and they try to make it interesting, things like, salaries or whatever. And they wait until a curious worker comes and inserts this flash drive into one of those, the computers of the company, right? And oftentimes they do have malware. Okay, so that's a very good thing that Sergio found a thumb drive and did not try to look into it. Send that directly to the HR. And it looks like from the meeting here, the HR is asking you, player one. So by the way, you're going to be player one. Is asking you to check if it's infected with viruses. Okay, and it says here, I've heard from some forums I frequent that a lot of other sysadmins are trying to figure out the best way to stop USB drive from walking in the door and being plugged in by curious folks that inadvertently infect the whole company. Again, that's very, very frequent, right? So that's a very easy way for hackers to plant their software there. Again, they count on the curiosity of people. Anyway, so that's good that Sergio sent this flash drive. So what are we going to do now? Well, we need, as player one, to examine it. And that's lucky because in these companies, they do have a ship dip. A ship dip is just a special type of computer that is used just for that purpose. Oftentimes, it's not connected to the internet, or it's really, hardened. And the only thing that you'll find, well, not the only thing, but a very important piece of this computer is antivirus, because you want to make sure that, you want to test flash drive there. And if the malware is executed inadvertently, well, you don't want to contaminate the rest of the machine. So it's usually isolated, and that's where you will check your flash drives. Okay, so we're going to use It's ship deep today. And by the way, do you have an idea why it's called ship deep? Anybody has heard about this term already? No, it's basically sheep farming. In sheep farming, well, they have to remove all the dangerous, I mean, not dangerous, but all sheep dips, so that's like this. Yeah. So it's like a solution of chemicals, and they just dip the sheep into it just to make sure it doesn't have any, pests, right? Because before they get the wool, of course, they want to make sure that it's clean and not contaminated, right? So that's the same idea here. Instead of dipping ships, we will dip thumb drives. All right, good. So here you go. At this point here, before we start the actual challenge, let's take a look at the virtual environment. Okay, so mine is ready. At this point here, let me finish reading the meeting. Okay, it says here, make sure not to delete the whole drive or the directory because you might have some critical HR files on it. So your job is to make sure that there are no viruses installed on it, but at the same time, not to delete anything that is not, a malware on it. Okay. Now they tell you that they do have some antivirus on the workstation. It's called ClanScan. ClanScan, by the way, is one of those open source free antivirus, and open source and free, not one of those that will be, we will have to pay after a while, right? It's really open source and free. And as a matter of fact, they do have a version for Linux, they do have a version for the Mac, and it can be used pretty much everywhere. So they do have ClanScan installed. So you just need to make sure that you're gonna use, that you use this one, okay? Yes, all right, so I guess, like they say, curiosity kills the cat. True. All right, so that's our job for today. The thumb drive has been put into the workstation already. We just need to check what's on there, and if we find some dangerous malware, to remove it. Now, before I continue, okay, so I have a few messages here. I cannot access either doc, so that's Maria. So the docs I'm providing are they have links in the chat. Do you have an error message when you click on the links, or? I'm not sure.
So I'm on the mobile app, and it won't even let me click the links in it. So I've been typing them in on my desktop, and I can't. It keeps telling me they don't exist. And then I tried to just go into the session in the web in my Mac, but now the session's locked though, so I couldn't exit out and get into it.
Oh, that's a problem. Okay, so we can do something here. The only thing you need to type is this one: portal.nice-challenge.com. portal.nice-challenge.com.
Okay.
And in the meantime, let me look for you're Maria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maria, let's take a look at your Maria, and you are, that's your login here, PRCCDC-HSE45. So let me put it here so I can see. Okay. So that's you. And that's the URL you need to access. Let me put it in there for you. Okay, so that's the URL, and that's your username, and the password again is that one.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna try that. Thank you so much.
And Brittany is on an iPad. Yeah, so
yeah, I'm having the same issue.
Yeah, do you have access to your?
Yeah, I'm on the site on my laptop. I just need that username.
Okay, Brittany, here. That's your username. Okay, so that's your login right there. It's both visible. So for Brittany, you're here, 23. The password, and that's the link for accessing the challenge. Okay, so in the meantime, hopefully everybody has begun with the challenge. So last thing I want to do before we actually start is to go over the actual virtual environment that they're providing to us. And the environment looks like this. So again, the first one we're going to use today is called Pretty Safe Electronics. And it's a very simple company. They do have some, they have 3 locations they're operating on. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So they have those 3 locations. This is the main location here. So they do have a firewall, so that's great, right? Everybody should have a firewall now. So they do have a firewall. It looks like they have an internal network with an ad server. So AD for Active Directory, right? AD for Active Directory. They have a file share. They have a database. So that's one segment here. On this segment here, it looks like they do have a production server. So it's actually a website, right? So they do have the website, and it's separated into 2 different segments, of course, because it's considered to be something like a DMZ, right? They want to segregate the network in such a way that if some people manage to get into this machine, the other machines won't be affected, or it's going to be harder to affect the other machines, okay? And finally, they do have another subnet here, which is the user subnet, in which they have the security desk and a workstation. Okay, so that's where we're going to use, that's what we're going to use today. As a matter of fact, today we won't use the network that much. We just use, I think, machines. So no, I don't think we use a network, but just in case, that's what their network looks like. They also have 2 other locations that they can access using a VPN. So what you see in the red here, it says here VPN. And so of course they have their 2 routers in the 2 different locations, and they do have a point of sales in each location. Okay, there you go. So now that we know about those machines, let's start the actual challenge. So can I start with the challenge? Hopefully everybody's ready now. All right, good. All right, so if you click on Begin Challenge, that is what you're going to see. And again, I'm in workspace 2, right? So if you're still trying to connect, make sure that you select workspace number 2, and then you look for dangerous drives. That's the one we're doing now. So that's what you're seeing here. So very, very important here, you have a list of all the machines in your network. So that's kind of like if you are in a SOC, right? And if you are in a security operations center. As a matter of fact, in MDC, we do have our own cyber range for cyber range exercises. And it's kind of like this too, right? We have access to all the machines in our network, and you can see all the alerts and etc. So that's a little SOC here. You do have access to all your machines, and you can go and change the configurations, do some tests and etc. So all the machines you have seen on the network maps are here too. Now at the bottom here, you'll see the challenge info. So there's some basic information about what we need to do. You have the meeting notes, all the notes. Well, everything you need to do here for your mission that I've read already is here. And you also have the network map. If you need to, if you worry about maybe an IP address, or you need to check how 2 computers are connected, you can take a look at it over there. All right, and finally, here you'll have the checks. So the checks help you figure out if you have solved a challenge. Okay, so and the goal, of course, for this challenge is going to be to make sure that we resolve all of those checks. We have to remove, it looks like we have to remove 4 files, 4 infected files. Okay, and it's going to turn green with a check mark once we do that. Okay, so that's it. We're ready to do the challenge. All right, so how do you guys propose we start the challenge? Again, our goal, if you go to the meeting notes here, it says that they plug the drive to the workstation desk. Okay, that's the ship date. So let's go there. Yeah, so let's go there. So we need to go to the workstation desk. So again, in our list of virtual machines here, you're going to press HTML5. Okay, so you want to open the console to your machine and please click on HTML5. You could use this also, but it would ask you to install other software. So let's just use HTML5. And at this point, you should see the actual workstation. So you might need to wait a little, maybe even press enter. And at this point, you'll see that the workstation is actually a Windows 7 machine. All right, great. Next, we want to make sure that we press Control-Alt-Delete. Now, if you do that on your keyboard, you're going to do that on your host environment, right? So you want to use this button at the top right here. It says Send Control-Alt-Delete. And then you can press OK and enter your password. So the same password is used everywhere in this environment. It's easy. It's password123. Password 1, 2, 3. It's all lowercase. And that's it. You should be connected at this point. So how many people have successfully opened the workstation machine? All right, perfect. So here it says you must restart. Yeah, you can restart this later. That's fine. All right, so I'm gonna wait a little bit here again. After my challenge has started, the only thing I did was to open a console to my workstation desk, and I pressed HTML5. Again, that's the easiest way to connect to the machine. Password. So if you go to challenge info again, you'll see username is almost all the time player1. Password is always password123. Very bad choice, right? Password123 in lowercase. That's what you want to use when you connect to your virtual machine. All right, good. So what have you guys done? Again, the goal here is to run the antivirus. So Maria says, when I try and access the challenge portal, it says the challenge has been disabled. Are you sure it's this one that has been disabled? I know that recently they had one of their challenges disabled, but that's not the one we want, right? So if you go back to the web portal, so let me do that fast. In the meantime, everybody else, you can start looking around and see if you can find the antivirus. Again, it's called ClimbAV, and try to run it against the drive. Now, in the meantime, Maria, if you go back to your workspaces, right, you want to make sure that you are in your workspace number 2.
It didn't even let me get that far. So when I put in my information in the login page, it just brought up a bubble and said that the challenge was disabled.
Oh, because I have these two. You see my screen here?
Yeah, but
I do have a bubble. So here, is there any way to just say okay and move on, or
no? I don't.
Can you try and log out and log in again?
Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yes. And again, yeah, you should see a tab with player, and then the dashboard looks like this. So if you follow that dashboard, maybe you can just click on workspaces available, and you'll see the 2 different workspaces. All right, good. So in the meantime, who has managed to start the antivirus? So again, it's called ClimbAV, so it's easy to find. If you click there, I think it's somewhere. Is it there? No, I don't see it. Yeah, so if you go in the all programs, that's the Windows 7. It's a little old, but good enough. And of course here, if you click on ClamWin Antivirus, you have different programs. So you have the quarantine browser, but what we want to do really today is to scan viruses. Okay, so we can click on Virus Scanner. Here you go. So that's what it looks like. Again, it's open source, it's free, so it's not anything fancy. but it does what it has to do. So how do we proceed from there? When you have several buttons there, so I think they tell us in the meeting that it's already been updated. We don't even need to update it. The only thing we need to do is to start scanning, right? So you will start scanning for files. Now the question is, which one of those is the thumb drive? So how did you figure this out? Well, if you just open a File Explorer and you look at the different drives available, you'll see that it's probably E, right? So at this point, the only thing you need to do is to select E and start your scanning. Here you go, good. So Jakira said here, E. So who has found some malicious files already? All right, perfect. All right, good. So let's do that. Again, very easy. Select drive E and start scanning for files. You could scan a memory, but at this point, it's not necessary. All right, scanning. And again, it's a very simple, very efficient type of antivirus. So far, so good, right? That's very easy job. And yes, looks like I do have a few findings. Okay, good. 4 infected files for Brittany. Devin also. All right, good. Yeah, so at this point, you should have found 4 infected files. So what do we need to do? We need to click on them, delete them, right? So we need to delete them. So what is your recommendation? What do you want to do in order to delete them? Well, there are many ways of doing it, right? You have the whole path here, so you could go into your thumb drive. What I like to do, especially when it's with malicious software, because sometimes, software can be run automatically. I like to do it with the command line instead. Okay, so you can use a command line. So here, clicking and typing CMD, that's for the command line. And then you can start going to these locations and start deleting things. Okay, so I'll let you do that. Good, so how many people have finished deleting all the files? All right, looks like it's taking time. So I'm gonna do it in this at the same time, right? So in my case, again, I'm using the command line. So I'm gonna go to, if you want to go to the E drive, you can just type CDE colon. That moves you to the E drive. Oh, just E colon. Okay, so just type E colon. That moves you to the E drive. And then from there, you can start going into the folders you want, right? So the first one I want to delete, or I'm just going to delete them. I'm just going to type del, followed by the name of the path. So school/IST, whatever. And by the way, when you use a command line, a very useful tool is to use tab completion, right? You don't want to write down, to type in, all the characters in the path, right? By typing a few characters and pressing tab, it auto-completes. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows that already, but you never know. So mine is called Valentine's Days. There you go. Okay, so that's it. Del would just delete a file. So I can do that. In the meantime, the password or username is incorrect for Maria. So let's see, Maria. Okay, so Maria, let me bring this thing again. Yeah, so Maria, yeah, PRCCDC-HSE45, and the password is NSF in capitals 2021. So yeah, so that's your username here.
Thank you.
And the password, yeah. All right, so we can keep on deleting things. So what else? I'm going to delete tax dash X menu. Be careful not to delete what you should not delete too, right? So that one's gone. What else I need to delete? Work dash HR files permanent.tmp. Good. And lastly, I need to delete thumb.ini. And then I have this message. So who has managed to delete thumb.ini? Anybody here? Anybody had problems with these particular files? So in my case, I do have a problem, right? It says here that, so my antivirus says that there is a file that looks like it's a virus. It's called thumb.ini. But then when I use my my command line, it looks like there is no such a file. So what could have happened? Who do you believe, the antivirus or the command line? All right, so at this point here, you might need a little hint. In most operating systems, you know, when you have files, some of the files should not be used by, you know, by the regular user. And for that reason, most file systems provide a way to hide files. So what if this file was hidden? So what can we do if it was hidden? Well, we just need to unhide it. And by the way, just again, that should not be the right thing to do, right? But if you go there, of course, you don't see the file you're looking for it. But there is a way from here in folder options somewhere, Windows 7, yeah. With Windows 7, you can always go to the control panel and I think it's so under folder options. Yeah, you can show hidden files. Okay, so you can show hidden files. So now you can see it. Look at that. Okay, so that's better. And again, the reason why most file systems do that is so that, you know, you don't have users deleting important files or moving them around because it would break their applications or break their system. Now, at the same time, it's also a very good tool for hackers because it can hide things. They can hide things that they don't want people to see. You know, again, malware. Okay, so let's delete this one. So at this point, I guess you can delete it. So here it still says that it didn't find it. So what you can do here is something like change the attribute of this file, because again, internally, it's just an attribute. So the attribute of thumbs, you want to change the attributes of thumbs to something different, okay? And by the way, it's called H. It's called H for hidden. So the only thing you're gonna need to do at this point is to make sure that you change the attribute and that you remove, you know, even the E file. So that's easy. I mean, again, you can do that like this. So instead of doing just a del, instead of doing just a del here, so instead of doing a del thumb, I'm gonna do a del /A, that's for attribute. And then I want to make sure that I have a column in the H. The H is for hidden. And here I'm saying, you know, delete, even if the file is hidden. Okay, so instead of just putting a del followed by the name of the file, here you want to make sure that you follow the del with this option. So here you're saying, okay, I want to delete this file, but know that it is a hidden file. All right, and this should work. As a matter of fact, you saw this one disappear at the same time. All right, good. So did that solve everybody's problem there? All right, good. So that's one of the, again, when you are in cybersecurity, the reason why I really like cybersecurity to begin with, because it's been a long time ago in cybersecurity, is that it's always, it's like a game, right? It's you against a hacker who's not really smarter. It's not like you have to compete on the smartness level, but it's sometimes tricky, right? So it's just you about somebody else's mind. And sometimes it can be very simple things like a hidden file that you have to find and remove. All right, so at this point here, you should have 4 green checks. Now the checks sometimes takes time to clear because it's an automated system. But after a while, yes, you'll see that you have no check. Okay, good. Yay. So please, I don't know, can you raise your hand in Zoom? I usually don't use Zoom, but please let me know if you managed to do this challenge. Or just write yes in the chat. All right, good. So mine are not all green yet, but yeah, that's it. So if you use this platform, usually, again, today we're doing free play, so don't worry, no grades today. But again, I'm going to use that in my classrooms, and I'm going to ask my students to type, all the steps they have taken to document how they solve it, to add any tools they have used, and then they can submit their challenge. All right, good. So for today, just so that you can submit the challenge, please enter, anything in here, worked or, used del/AH, because that was the most important part, right? That's it. You can submit your challenge and we're going to move on to the next. All right, great. Everybody solved it. Oh, I'm sorry, Maria. I guess you're going to miss this one. So hopefully you'll be able to do the next one. Okay, good. So you can, right, again, before you can submit anything, you have to make sure you enter something in there. Okay, and then you can click at the top of your window, submit challenge tab. All right, good. All right, so that's one challenge. And this challenge was challenge number 1. And it was a difficulty, wait, so I can close this one now, right? I'm done with it. I can close it. And yes, I lost one of my windows. I have 10 windows open now. Okay, good. So that's it. We solved the first challenge. So today we have, well, hopefully we have time to do the other ones. So the very first one was supposed to be an easy challenge. So this one was called an easy challenge, according to the people who wrote them. If you're ready, we can move on to the next challenge. So the next challenge I selected for you is a penetration testing type of challenge. Difficulty is 1 on 3, okay, 1 on 3. But this time it's in another workspace. It's in the Pretty Safe Electronics workspace. Okay, so what we need to do at this point is to go to this workspace. Okay, so in the meantime, I have a few messages. So let's see. Monica Delgado needs a username, okay. And Cheryl Ann also. Okay, so Monica. So I put the site there again, right? So Monica, you're here. PRCCD-HSE34. And Cheryl Ann is PRCCDC-HSE46. And same password, right? NSF 2021, capital NNSF. All right, in the meantime, let's start. Okay, so it's in my screen, right? I'm sharing it. So Monica, let's see again, Monica here. PRCCD-HSE34. That's your username. You know, again, it's in the screen, right? I'm sharing my screen and it's on it now. All right, so in the meantime, let's start the other one. Let's start the next challenge because again, it's going to take some time to deploy. It's in workspace 1. So make sure that you click on workspaces again. You switch to workspace 1. And what you need to do here is called, I forgot what it's called. It's called penetration testing. So I guess that if you just do a search for penetration testing, you'll find it. Yeah. So it's called penetration testing, bringing passwords up to snuff. And we're going to use the first version, the first level. Okay, the second level is a little bit more tricky. All right, and we can start by deploying it. All right, so like before, it's going to take a few minutes. And let me put again here the name of what we are doing now. Okay, so that's the name of the particular thing that we're doing. It's called penetration testing, bringing passwords up to snuff. And that's another aspect of cybersecurity. In a general manner, there are, and you hear about this, right? Usually in every organization, you'll have a blue team and you have a red team. The blue team is supposed to protect, and the red team is the one that is simulating attacks from hackers. Okay, so those are the ethical hackers. And again, their job is to pretend that they are attacking the network and check if there are actual vulnerabilities. So that's what I'm going to ask you in this particular thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit. By the time this gets started, I want to talk about passwords. So when you think about passwords, and I think I put that here, yes, I put that in some remarks on these documents. When you think about passwords, if you're a hacker, usually it's the low-hanging fruit, okay? It's a low-hanging fruit because getting password or using, and finding passwords that are weak is very easy to do. So because of that, you have to make sure that your passwords you have a strong password policy in your organization. Or nowadays, and that's great that most people are doing that now, a lot of people now are using multiple factor authentication, things like MFA. So MFA is something like, when you have to log in, you also have to have your phone, and sometimes you have to enter a password, you have to enter a code, or sometimes you just need to press a button on your phone. So now that's good because it's not, the security of the system does not rely just on a password. It relies on some other authentication factor. So again, yeah, very still used by a lot of hackers. So password attacks are very, very common. Now, if you had to do a password attack, there are 3 ways you would like to go. Brute force. Okay, brute force, like it says, try every different password possible, starting with A, all the way to Z, or even if you have more characters. Now, that's good. You will find the password eventually, but it may take a lot of time, right? So that's not very good. Instead, some other passwords are using dictionaries. Dictionaries are just lists of words, and we're going to see one today. So those are a list of words that are potential passwords. So things like, I don't know, the season. A lot of users are using, fall 2020 or spring 2021 as their passwords, thinking that they're the only one doing that. No, right? Or a list of teams, or, again, many of those are very easy to predict. So some hackers use dictionaries in order to guess users' passwords. Or sometimes what they do also is something hybrid. Of course, they use a dictionary of words, but then there is a tool that adds numbers or capitals, or, some people also like to do that, right? They replace the E by a 3, or they replace O by a 0. But guess what? There are tools that can do that too. And they can kind of find passwords that you might consider strong. Okay, good. So let's check on my deployment. Still not there. Okay, so let's continue talking about passwords in the meantime. Passwords, yeah. So again, oftentimes you'll see that this takes too long. Dictionary is one way to go. A hybrid is even better. So today we're going to use some type of dictionary attack on passwords. Okay. Oh, and by the way, there is a variant that has kind of been hot last year and the year before that. It's called password spraying. Have you heard about password spraying? All right. So Neka wants to go into pen testing. That's good. So password spraying is kind of like brute force. But instead of brute forcing the actual password, they pick one password that is very likely to be taken by somebody, and then they try this password on many account names. Okay, so that's, again, you take one password that is very likely to be used, and you try them across all the accounts of an organization. Isn't that smart? It's very easy to do, and it's very difficult to detect. Why? Because again, if you do brute force, right, you have things like account lockdown, right? You know that, if you put your password 2 or 3 times, maybe sometimes you're going to lock your account, right? So in this case, it's very hard for a hacker to do brute force. But if you do password spraying, again, try the password for this user, then move to the next user, then move to the next user. Actually, that's pretty smart. It's very hard to detect by intrusion detection systems, and it's pretty easy to do too. So I think that, last year, a lot of organizations were attacked using this type of attack. Again, very, very easy to realize, very easy to, very difficult for the defender to detect. Okay, so that's password spraying. All right, good. And then if you, as a hacker, want to do very good. Like Risha said that a lot of older people use the same, not that old, even some young people use the same password on different accounts. Actually, that's what they do too. Password spraying also includes the fact that some passwords have been on the darknet, right? They've been sold by whoever attackers. Well, some people just buy those passwords and try to reuse them on other accounts. That's also password spraying. Very good question, Shreya. Do they actually deal with English words? I'm pretty sure that you can use dictionaries in every language. Okay, I'm pretty sure they do. I would not know I would know where to find them, but most of them, of course, especially in the education system, we use English, of course. All right, good. So what about modes of operation? If you're a hacker and you want to try to guess passwords, what can you do? Well, there are 2 modes of operations. You can go online and just act directly, with your authentication system. So you enter your username, you enter a username and a password that you have guessed, and then you do that again. Okay, so it's in real time, and it's directly in contact with the authentication system. So that's an easy way of doing it. Now the question, the problem is, because you are in direct contact as a hacker, of course, because you are in direct contact with the authentication system, it might be very easy to detect. Okay, so easy to carry out by the hacker, but also easy to detect by the security teams. And there are a lot of tools that can do that for you. And that's one of them we're going to use today. Hydra, Metasploitable, SMB, Metasploitable has a module called SMB logging. Those are very, very easy to carry out. Another mode of operation is offline. So what does it mean offline? Well, offline is when you steal a list of hashed passwords first. Okay, you steal the list, And after that, you bring that to your computer and you are free to attack the file in any way possible. Now, I say attack the file because, of course, the list of passwords are never, hopefully never, kept in a plain text manner, right? Oftentimes it's encrypted or hashed. Okay, so you'll find a list of hashed password. Once you have the list of hashed password, you put it on your computer, and then you can try to unhash or decrypt those passwords. At this point, it's very hard for the security team to detect you because you own your own thing. You do whatever you want with this hashed password. Now, of course, the hard part is, of course, you have to steal the list of hash passwords beforehand. Okay, so, and you have tools that can do that for you also. Once you have the list, try to crack those passwords offline. All right, so that's the different modes of operations. Good, so look at those tools here. We're gonna use one of those today. Okay, so I'll let you decide which one you want to use. But let's take a look at the challenge. So what is the challenge for us today? Hopefully everybody has deployed these. Can you put that in the chat for me? Everybody, I mean, if you have deployed your challenge, is it finished? Yep. All right, good. The Lucretia is still waiting. Okay, so let me give you a tour in the meantime, and then I'm gonna start. Okay, so, and Monica, yay, at least Monica is in, so we can start. Okay, so let's go through the meeting. What went through the meeting? Okay, so Ricardo Cortes was reading an article online today, and they talked about how businesses are being hacked more frequently because of weak passwords, of course, okay? And how sure are we that this won't happen to us? Okay, so it's probably one of those CEO or CSO. So they want to make sure that they won't be using, I mean, they don't use any weak passwords. Okay, I'm not sure that my password is strong. No, I'm sorry, I'm sure that my password is strong, but I don't know about anyone else's. I'm in the same boat as Ashley. Perhaps player one could take this opportunity to get some penetration testing experience. All right, so what they want you to do this time is to try to do a penetration testing on their network. That's a great idea. Try performing a dictionary brute force attack on our Active Directory users. All right, so that's our mission for today. Do a dictionary, well, I don't like the dictionary brute force attack because it's two different things. It should be dictionary attack on the Active Directory user. Okay, perform a dictionary attack on all user logins except your own. Metasploit, Hydra on Nmap probably have tools for doing something like this. Remember, you are a domain admin. So if you get into an account, log into the domain controller and set that user account to require a password reset on next login. Okay, so that's our mission. First, do the dictionary attack. If some passwords are found to be weak, change, ask the user to change their password. And there's a way to do that in Active Directory. And by the way, Active Directory is very, very important because that's the center place for Windows network, right? So Windows networks store all of their objects into Active Directory. All right, good. Okay, so basically what we have to do today, I'll let you finish reading this maybe later. Here, another thing they help us with is that they tell us that they have a word list that we can use for the dictionary attack, yes. And it's gonna be one of those that are already installed on Kali. Okay, so they tell us where this word list is located. It's called Roku. Okay, so that's what we're gonna use today. All right, so that's it. Everybody understands the mission? So we can begin the challenge. And hopefully everybody now should have a deployed challenge. All right, so again, what is the mission for today? As administrator, we have to go and do some penetration testing on the Active Directory, the AD. Okay, so one thing we can do already is check out how the Active Directory is. And actually here they named it as domain controller. Okay, so that's what the AD is, right? So here you can click on HTML in order to start a console to your Active Directory. Okay, and what else are we gonna need? Well, by the way, I don't think we're gonna have time to do all 3 challenges today, but at least if we can do that one, that would be good. All right, what else do we have? We need our security desk. Okay, so if you open HTML5 for the security desk, so again, I'm opened the security desk and the domain controller. In both cases, the username is player1, and the password is the same as before. Password 123, everything in lowercase. Same thing for the domain controller, right? For the domain controller, you have to press Ctrl-Alt-Delete. So please use the button at the top right. Player1 is already logged in, so we just need to put in the password 123. Here you go. So here is our domain controller, and here is our security desk, right? And I don't know if maybe, I'm pretty sure that some of you guys will recognize, oops, oh, I did something wrong. I pressed on one empty panel and now I don't have access to any of my tools. So I'm just gonna restart it. Oh, by the way, you can restart computers from there. So I'm gonna start it over. Okay, so yeah, I was going to talk about the security desk. In this case, the security desk is actually a Linux machine, and it's a special version of Linux called Kali. Anybody has heard about Kali before? Yeah, so that's the kind of de facto distribution of Linux for offensive tools. Okay, all right, perfect, good. So yeah, if you're learning, that's good. It's very, very good to learn about Kali because it has a lot of very, very useful tools. So that's the one we're gonna use today. All right, so let's see, it's back. So I can start it again, put in my password. Password is password 123, lowercase. For the security desk, I can't log in. Okay, so let me do it too. Mine just started. So I'm gonna let the admission, oh, okay. So mine says error. So I'm just gonna wait and try again. And if it's too long, I'm just gonna restart it.
Nelly, I had the same problem, and when I would click on the send Ctrl-Alt-Delete, it would refresh it, and it brought it up.
Thank you. No, it says that the console was disconnected, and sure the virtual machine is powered down. So it might be just, you know, it just, oh yeah, oh, it says powered off now. So let me power it on again. Again, you can do it here from the action button. Now, in the meantime, okay, so that's good. Let me wait and talk about Kali in a minute when it started. In the meantime, let's go back to the domain controller. Okay, so that's the domain controller. Again, it's a Windows machine, but it's a Windows server, of course. So you might have used this before. One very interesting thing you can do in this is to start a server manager. So that's this button here. You can use that. And then you have all the information about the server. You have tools there, and you can access pretty much everything that you need on your server there. Okay, so what is our strategy? Now, in our case, we are already the system administrator, so we don't have to worry about things like, you know, knowing what type of username we need, right? If we were hackers, the very first thing we'd need to do is try to launch an attack to figure out who, you know, what the user account would be. But we don't need to do that, right? So we can find that very easily because we are system administrator. So maybe the very first thing we need to do is to get a list of all the users in our network. So who has an idea of how to do that? On the Active Directory. And here again, you have everything about the server. You have, Active Directory, the domain server is there. So again, you can go, and by the way, this is a tool that is open until tonight, I believe. So if you want to play by yourself today, you're free to do that. Okay, so here, one thing we can do is click on tools. Yeah, so Cindy said users and computers, perfect. And here, under the tools, you have an option for Active Directory users and computers. Okay, so again, under tools, you have the Active Directory users and computers. So you have them right there. And as a matter of fact, you see that this is the domain that is created for your organization. You have a list of computers, but what is important for us is the list of users. Okay, so we have different users there. Administrator, somebody called Ashley Steele, and many more users. All right, so we do have the name of the users. At this point, what do you want to do? Well, it's not that much. But again, nowadays, it's in a typical organization, you won't have only that much, right? So maybe we need to do something to try and automate things, right? So what I propose to do, because again, you can just take a look at this and then go back to your security machine and try different things for different users, right? But what I'm going to propose you to do is to export this list of users. Okay, so how can we do that? One of those buttons here allows you to do that. I forgot which one it is, but I know there's one. Oh, it's this one. Okay, so make sure that you click on users there to display the list of users, and there you should have export list. And you can export the list as a text document. Okay, so we can do that. If you know PowerShell, that's something that's easy to do also. So I'm going to save it as, I don't know, users. And I'm going to leave it on desktop or document. Document is fine. Okay, so if I go to my documents, I should have a list of users. Okay, so that's what was here. Wait. Oh, I don't like the way it's look like. I have the username, but I have the actual names, but I don't have the usernames. Okay, I don't like that. So instead, and again, so that might be why it's considered a difficult type of subject. But instead, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use PowerShell. Okay, so how many of you know PowerShell? What PowerShell is, even though you don't know PowerShell, because PowerShell is pretty complex. So I don't expect anybody to know PowerShell perfectly, but anybody has heard what PowerShell is? All right, good. So that's a pretty new language used for scripting in Windows. Now, PowerShell is very, very powerful because it allows you to get actual objects from the Windows operating system. And as a matter of fact, nowadays, a lot of attacks, most of the very serious attacks on organizations are done through some type of PowerShell, well, not most, but some, right, are using some type of PowerShell script at some point. Okay, so let's go ahead and use PowerShell. So to use PowerShell, we can just click here, click on Windows PowerShell, and let's see if I remember my commands. If I'm mistaken, I can use get user in order to get a list of the users. And I can use get AD user. Now I have to import the module first. What you would do is import dash. What time is it, by the way? Oh, it's 2:15 already. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you how to do that really quick, but then I'm gonna just I'm sorry, I saw that it would take less time. So I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna wait too long because you know it stops soon. So here I need to import a module called Active Directory. Active Directory. All right, and then I can use comments such as getAdUser. And getAdUser basically gets all the users that we have seen. I want all of them, so I'm going to do a filter star. Again, it means get all the users. And if you are in my class, I know that some students are from NDC, right? We do have a class now about scripting, where we go over PowerShell in this class. So you'll see that soon we're going to be using PowerShell. So export CSV, I want to make sure that I export this as a kind of like Excel type of worksheet, and I can put it under my C drive, users.csv. Okay, so this export with 1x, I guess. Okay, so that does kind of the same thing I did with using the export. The only difference is that now I think I have, here you go, oh, I don't have Excel there, but if you did have Excel, you would see this as an Excel file. And that's better because here, not only I have everything about the users. I have their names, I have their logging. That's much better, right? So the logging, for example, for Cortez is jcortez, right? For Raffin is jraffin. And T Clark and all of those are here. Okay, so I do have the logins, which is good. So that's it. That's what I need. Now I have a list of users. Again, if I was a hacker, it would be much more difficult to add it. Next thing is to go to the security desk. So let me see if I can connect. Oh, it's better now. So I know that other people had problems with the security desk. Is that fine now? I just restarted mine, waited a little bit, give it time to deploy. And now I can use my username and password. So again, that's player1. Password is just password 123. Okay, and that's on, and it still have, okay, so don't worry about this. At this point here, I would like to start a new, again, yours should be different, right? But the only thing I'm gonna need today is to have a terminal. Okay, so you can right click on the desk. If you have, you had an error message telling you what type of panel you want to start with, and I chose an empty panel. So I should not have done that. I should have done the default panel. That's why I have something like this. That's ugly. Usually you'll have, a very nice menu with all the tools that Kali proposes to you. But in my case, that's okay because I just need to have a terminal. So I can just right click in there and open my terminal there. Okay, now, question. What tools are we gonna use? We already have a list of the users. So what tools should we use? And I'll go back to this page here. First of all, do I want to do an online attack or offline attack? What do you guys think? What happened to my chat? I lost my chat. Offline, all right. Offline, well, wait. Offline. So if I want to do an offline attack, well, the very, okay. The pros of offline attacks is that it's hard to detect. But I'm the administrator. I don't care about being detected because I'm doing it. In addition to that, if I want to do an offline attack, I would have to put my hand on the list of hashed password, right? It's not impossible. There are ways to do it, but well, it's gonna be harder. I already have a list of the names. So instead, I want to do an online attack because again, I know it's my server. I don't worry about being detected, and it's easy to do. Okay, so I'm just gonna do an online attack today. All right, so what are the tools? So again, Offcrack, Hashcat, and all of those, I don't need them today, right? Instead, let's use one of those. And because it's almost time already, I'm gonna use Hydra. Okay, so Hydra is a tool that does exactly that. It just, you give it, so let's go back to the security desk. And let's do a man Hydra. So everybody has a terminal open in your desks? Yeah, all right, good. So in Linux in general, one of those commands you need to know is man. Okay, man for manual, it gives you the manual for a command. Okay, so Hydra is a very fast network logon cracker, which supports many different services. Okay, so, and you have the different options down there. So if you press down, you'll see the different options. What I want to do today is, well, of course, I'm going to have to give the port number and etc. Of course, I'm going to have to do that. But most importantly, what else I'm going to need? So look through the list of options. What do you think you're going to need? So let's see, logins. Yep. So we have a list of logins already. What else? And by the way, that's not the only one possible, right? I think that in the meeting, they had also the option of using Nmap. So Nmap is not bad. Okay, so let's use Hydra with first. This, we can either, okay, so we can do it either every logging one after the other. And because it's time now, I'm going to do that way today. But in a general manner, you could also use a capital L. And if you use a capital L, it's going to give you, I mean, you can give a list of names that you want to try. Okay, so you want to need a different list of names, different list of passwords. So for that, you're going to need a -P, I believe. Is that P? Capital P, I believe. So we can search -P there. Okay, -P is, okay, here says -P is for the password. Or if you have a file of password, basically a dictionary, right? So that's when you want to provide your dictionary. So you're going to use this dictionary. We're going to provide every password one after the other, and we should be fine. Okay, so we're ready for that? And of course, you need to say, because this tool is great, right? So you also need to precise to this tool what type of connection you want. And in this case, because it's Active Directory, you need to provide, so here it says the list of protocols that we want to use. So do you know what protocol is used in order to authenticate through an Active Directory? What is the name of the protocol if you want to connect to Active Directory? Oh, I don't have the list there. Where is the list? So the name of the protocol is actually called SMB. Okay, SMB. That's the name of the, oh, here you go. So those are all the protocols you can use in order to attempt and do an authentication. Okay, so the one we're going to use today is SMB. Again, that's what's used by Active Directory. Okay, so now we know what we need. In order to quit this manual, we have to press on the Q key. Okay, so Q to quit the thing. There you go. So at this point here, so again, if I had time, what I would do is send the list of users to my security desk. You can use FTP for that, or secure FTP, because you don't want anybody to steal it. So you would have to send a list of users here and use all of those things. But it's a little bit late, so today I'm just going to do everything one by one. Again, for today is good enough. So I'm going to use Hydra minus the first login. So which one are we going to first try? Well, let's see. Here, why don't you try Mr. or Mrs. Let's do it. T. Clark. Okay, so T. Clark is a username there. Right there, as a matter of fact. So let's try T. Clark. So I'm going to do a Hydra minus L for login. T. Clark. Okay, and now I need to pass, so capital P, a list of passwords. Now, if you recall from the challenge meeting, you'll find it, so I know it by heart because I use it a lot. It's under user share word lists. And again, here I'm using tab completion, right? I just type a few letters, and then I press tab to complete. Okay, so that's my list of words. And then later on, we can take a look at what it has. Okay, so hydra.-l, that's the logging, and that's the list of passwords right there. All right, now, where do we connect? Well, we want to connect using SMB. Again, that's the protocol for Active Directory authentication. So SMB dash colon dash dash, and here I can just put the name, I mean the IP address of my domain controller. Now I don't remember what it is, so I'm gonna go back to my page here in my network map. And here, if I look, I'll see that the IP address for AD server, again, AD server is a domain controller, is 172.16.30.55. 172.16.30.55. 172.16.30.55. A private address. Okay, so that's it. Again, I'm asking Hydra to use this logging in order to connect to my AD, my Active Directory, using the SMB protocol. And I'm going to try using all the passwords in this file. So let's try. Okay, it says attacking, this server. And we should have some results pretty soon. All right, so looks like this one is good. It looks like this one is fine, right? It says 0 valid passwords found. All right, so let's try the next. And again, if I had time, we will try to automate this by providing a list of things. So let's try J-Cortez. So same thing here with J-Cortez. And if you want to provide a list of files, you can just type capital L instead of L. J-Cortez. All right, so it's attacking it. But we can do a version. Oh, look at that. Something green. That's the password that Mr. or Mrs. J-Cortez chose. Okay, so we have one already. Okay, and by the way, when you do your command, you can do a -V for variables so that you'll see what's going on. So for the next, I'm going to use a -V to see what's going on. And they're going to show you all the passwords that are being tried. Okay, so next time I'm going to do that. But once that we found somebody with a weak password, what was asked for us already? We were asked to make sure that we ask the user to change this next time, right? So what we should do at this point is to go back to the domain controller. I'm going to close that. I don't need it anymore. And then, of course, in your list of users, so J-Cortez, my bad, is this person, Jen. We can right-click here, choose properties, and I think it's somewhere under account. We can click this option to ask the user to change password at the next logon. And of course, we have to make sure that password never expires is not there. Okay, any questions so far? So I know it's, we're almost done, it's too bad. We don't have time to do everything. But yeah, so that's it. At this point here, I can press OK. And next time that Jen Cortez actually logs in, it's going to have a message, please change your password. Okay, so that's one thing we can do. If you look at your checks, it's not done yet because, of course, we need to go through the list of all the users in order to do that for them. And I just again, because it's fun to do, I would like to do that with the variables because that's when you're going to see all, oh wait, what's going on? Yeah, so maybe no J-Cortez. Let's try another one. Let's try, I don't know. Let's try J Smith. Okay, so let's try J Smith. And so here, instead of Cortez, we can do J Smith. Right. Okay, so it's variables. So that's not really what I wanted to do, but I wanted to see the actual passwords. There's an option to do that. I forgot what it is. All right, well, that gives you an idea. And the very, very last thing I'm gonna do is just show the list of passwords, because I think it's interesting. If you do a more user share word lists, Rockview is going to give you an idea of what type of words are in the list of passwords. Okay, so here's things like, you know, chocolate, password worms, soccer, things like this. So I almost finished this challenge. Hopefully this was interesting. I had one even more interesting than that, but we won't have time today. So thank you for participating.